Welcome back. This is Zephyr. I have quite a bit to show you now. So the mod is coming to a close. I have almost finished all of my tasks that I have planned. Some tasks did get put to the back burner / scrapped. This is planned to be the last major content patch and kind of the finalization of my designs. So I really hope that y'all enjoy this 2.0 update. I'm going to be moving on more or less, aside from fixing like bugs and some numbers issues, sometime in the future. So I just want to run through a lot of this, and I will play a little bit if I have time. So real quick, mages and bosses. Mages drop a little bit less salt, but mages drop more salt from themselves and less from their missions. Missions no longer have a 50% heart chance. That was a weird thing. It's not all missions, but I believe it's at least the named missions. Mages themselves drop 100% chance to drop heart instead of 80%. Previously, you needed about 25 item find, which creates a 1.25 multiplier, and then that creates something. Anyways, at 25% increased chance, then you'd have a guaranteed heart. So now it's just always guaranteed. You're killing a mage, you're ripping out their heart, you're consuming their heart, or crushing it, or however you want to define that. It's yours. You have it, therefore it's yours. I just found this as a weird thing. I'm trying to standardize a bunch of stuff so that wild mages are actually worth fighting and hunting. They have their own system where they kind of like, there's a series of mages in a region. As you kill the mages, the lowest level mages rise to the top because the other mages have been depleted. I don't know that you can actually deplete the mages entirely. I think they just all level up at a different ratio. And so if you kill like 5 pyromancers, they might disappear. But if you kill 5 hydromancers, the pyromancer might reappear. Similarly, if you kill enough pyromancers and hydromancers, venomancer might appear, and even possibly a dracomancer. I don't know the actual template, but in some areas, different mages can appear as you deplete other mages. So I want people to be able to engage with the wild hunts. There are now endless mages. Endless mages replace nameless and named mages only after collecting the tomes of the endless and turning them into the rune reader. Tomes of the endless are meant to be found before fated tomes as an offset to wild hunts. Endless hunts do not give any salt whatsoever. So here you go. No drops, no bonus rewards. They do give the normal mage experience salt, and they give silver and silver from the mission. So you're being paid effectively by the Inquisition to go hunt these mages. But elsewise, you're just getting the normal drops from the mage, which means that you're going to get a guaranteed heart, not 80%. You're going to get all the mage's normal drops. You're guaranteed a shard, whether it's endless or wild now. Yes. That was weird. Fated missions no longer give the DLC tokens, but they do now give 100% chance at 2 faction tokens, and they have a 100% chance at actually having the tokens on them. So previously it was 50% chance to have tokens, and then it was like an 80% or 60% chance for the tokens to drop. So 50% chance for them to be assigned, some other percentage chance to be dropped. Pyres have been removed from some of this stuff, so nameless no longer drop pyres. They do drop extra silver, and they drop the crafted helmet still, and they're still worth quite a bit because they're higher tier. Named mages always drop their crafting materials. This is a mission reward, not their drop. It is actually placed into the world for you to pick up, or it shows as if it was picked up or something like that, which is why sometimes you see like you picked up a pyre and then you picked up another set of pyres, but they were the same thing. Why weren't they lumped together? That's why. Some of them are coming from the mission. Some of them are coming from the pickups. Named mages have this swap. So instead of being 300 and 500, it is now 500 and 200. So it's flipped and reduced. And that's true of all of these. Fated are the same way. They're flipped and reduced, and then endless. These don't level up or change. So fated disappear on a daily basis. And they're kind of higher tier and stuff like that. So, and we're talking about the difference of, so what is it? 2/7. So it is something, but it's not huge. So going from this 500 to the 700 to 0 is not as huge. No bonus rewards, but they do still have a chance at dropping pyres. All mages have pyres built in. Pyres. Yeah, so that's mage rewards. Completely reworked, kind of partially tweaked downward. But wild mages are basically what you're seeing here is the 500 and 500. Those are the wild mages, and they guarantee that shard now. Artifacts, we already did this. I did increase a bunch of stuff. So legendaries, instead of being 0.8, are now 0.6. This needs to be played with. Maybe I'll go to 0.65. We'll see. It's 0.7, something like that. Minimum value is now enforced on all rarities. So if something is 4 to 10%, you could get a 4 to 10% attack speed bowl or whatever from Urix. You could get a 10% attack speed. You can no longer get higher level rarities until Electro and Aeromancer, which are tier 4. Huntsman is tier 3, and they start dropping at tier 4 here. This hopefully will give you the chance to see some of these not low value, these commons and rares having these higher values, and then you get to the legendaries and the very rares, and they'll have a little bit more of a cut. So this cut has been doubled. It was 20%, now it's 40%, which means that all of the rarities now jump at around 13.5% reduction. So for every extra stat, you're getting less total number. But early game, because of this minimum value being enforced, early game legendaries will always have that 4% minimum. So you're not going to get a bad roll and then multiply against it and get, 2.4% attack speed, 2.4% melee damage, etc. And Urix always now drops a red one, a bowl, whatever. A bowl, an urn, those kind of things. Urix is the only one that's being enforced here, but I figured that a lot of players are going to want that red offensive one right away, and it just kind of sucks if you don't get kind of a core artifact. I've gotten really lucky in my past few tests. I had 2 tests in a row where I went Sage. I was testing some like channeling Ron magic type stuff, and both times I got a high roll. One was a 9% and one was a 7% for faster cast speed. So that's attack speed for mages. And it was just funny that I was a mage at the time. There are approximately 10 to 11 things in each type, color of artifact. So you do have a 1 in 10 chance on a common to get what you want. And I did that when I redid them in the past. I don't know if I mentioned this, but remaking artifacts causes them to lose 1 tier so that you can't just remake them indefinitely on a high level. You can't just take a level 40 and re-roll it until it's perfect. You will lose a tier every time, which just increases the cost because you can just bolster it for the same cost. It's meant so that you don't just sit there and re-roll. They are independent options, and re-rolling does now stay the same rarity. I have now added a rarity variable. As previously, rarity came from the seed as the first next value. We didn't want that. So when you re-rolled, it would always change rarity. So now it doesn't. Moving on, silver bag, silver find, all sorts of stuff has been updated. Main shop carries ash peers. Memories can be found in haze piles at really low rates. A lot of refillables are now changed. So guiltless shards drop from wild mages, as mentioned. These are now using the same a reworked pity system. I reworked like bushes and ores and stuff like that, as well as the pity system from enemies. So enemies no longer drop Irona, herbs, or haze spiral. They'll still drop like berries and some other stuff if it was in their drop pool before, but this is being dynamically removed on load-in from their drop pools. The pity system has been re-added for these things, as well as the green herbs, which are used for antidotes, it will only drop one at a time. So it does roll like herbs, then ore, then it doesn't roll haze spirals, and then it rolls green. So it's herbs, ore, and then green herbs for the pity system. The pity system is looking at like how many do you have on your person because you're out and venturing. The idea is that you're out venturing and you want those things to replenish, and you can field craft, and so you don't have to go and find a bush every time to just get a couple extra potions. But it's only going to drop one at a time through the pity system, so it'll be one ore, one herb, one green herb, that kind of stuff. Haze burnt have a high chance of dropping haze spirals. This was reduced in testing. Obviously, this patch isn't out yet, but just in testing, I was noticing that these were dropping way too often. So you will have something close to like a 40 or 35% chance of getting a haze spiral off of the haze ash residue, and then something similar like 10 to 20% from actual haze burnt. So if you're running around, the haze spirals, they are lore-wise attached to the haze. They're basically just haze captured. So it makes sense that the residue and the haze burnt themselves can both drop these. And there's a lot less of these little cairns around the world to get them. Each one of these pity systems has a number. So for example, this turns off at 8 shards. So at 8 shards carried, so you can technically abuse this, at 8 shards carried, and it will refresh what you're carrying every time you die. So doesn't really matter too much. It will stop dropping shards from minions, but you will still get the guaranteed shards from wild mages. So you can still stock up. It'll just it'll slowly turn off at a linear pace until it hits 8, and then it'll turn off completely. I just want you to feel like you're starving. I want this to be a feeling like, oh, I have 5 herbs. I need to figure out what I'm going to do. I have, 6 shards. I just died. What am I going to do? You go kill another mage. That's what you're going to do. That's the entire point of the Inquisition. You're supposed to go kill magic. Clearly. Backpack space for all the refresh items and stuff like that have been changed. So we can see this table down here, so you don't have to read all this. But you will, if you go to an obelisk, it will restock from your storage, and you'll always get full value. So even if you don't have ore, you'll still get like maximum or something like that, if I recall. I may change how that works. I don't remember all the details because some of it's ripped out from vanilla, but most of the time you'll just get full when you load into a world or pray at an obelisk or whatever. So you can carry 24 backpack materials. These are red herbs. You can have a maximum at max upgrade of 12 in the mod for red flasks. So that means you can refill twice in the field. And so this will refill at an obelisk, and then you can only craft 6 at a time, which is half of the max. Since you start with 3, you'll always craft the max until you kind of go past it. And that's the idea of, I didn't want this number to be moving target. Well, this number is being an upgrade. And then this number is based on this number. So it is just half of your current carry max. Antidotes, I don't know if this is notated here. Yeah, down here. Antidotes now cure all debuffs. So burning, poison, fungus, cold, all of that. Curse. So if you really hate the tireless exalted, antidotes now do that. I need to probably rename them a little bit and change their descriptions, but otherwise they just are intended to be a cure-all. They're thematically, I am basing them off of like Final Fantasy cure-all or even the cleansing cloth from Salt 1. I feel like this gives antidote potions a larger use case, but then I also reduced it from 3 carry to 2 carry. They do cleanse completely, but you only get 2 of them. So if you're fighting like the Tireless Exalted, you can cleanse the curse twice, but after that, you're going to have to find a way to actually craft in the fight. Good luck. Focus potions have been buffed as well. So they now do 15 MP instead of 10 MP. And they now scale with Resolve at a specific rate. In the base game, they scaled it with Resolve, but it's a weird formula that I don't fully understand and I don't think it's that great. So now they double at soft cap of resolve. So over 35 invested points, you'll get 100% bonus from your focus potions. You do get 1 point of this per resolve. So or something like that. So as you get up there at soft cap, you'll have like 50 resolve, and you'll be getting 30 out of 50 instead of 15 out of 15. So it's not going to give you 100%, but it is going to scale. And then this doesn't count for MP that you get from other items. So just getting other items doesn't increase your potions. You do have to invest into resolve to increase your potions. And that was true of the base game too. Jumping back up here, Pyres, Piers, whatever, have been reworked. So bricks will now start dropping at tier 13 and onward. Canito and Biblio are now both 13 instead of one being 12 and one being 14. So you can brick farm. Brick chances start at 5% or 6% or something. Yeah, there it is, 6%, and increase at 2% at a linear pace onward. So if you're fighting a rank 40 or tier 40 mage, it'll say tier 41 in the actual game. The UI is +1. Then this actually caps out at 60%. And then the base game, it caps out around 59 point something % as well. So at 40, it still caps out at the same point, but I wanted this to be a little bit rare. I want you to starve just a little bit, not too much. Poise now regenerates out of combat. After 5 seconds, you will regenerate 33% of your maximum poise per second. In addition to the base 1 poise. So it's not going to cut you down if you have low poise. Enemies also get this at a reduced rate. So bosses and other enemies will get 1 plus 15% of their max poise. Good stuff. Reworked all this. I think I've talked about it in a previous video. Player drop attacks no longer bounce targets. So I am not a big fan of a lot of the ragdoll in certain circumstances. And a lot of that is just that I feel like you're losing control, even though you want control. So player drop attacks, for me, I didn't like them. They bounce things. I removed it. I would like to remove the bounce off of the larger enemies, knockback and flings and stuff like that. I feel like that's kind of part of the game. You're supposed to be flung off a tower and bashed in the face or something like that. But a lot of enemies will just bounce you at point blank range. I don't like that. I've talked about it, removing it in the past, and kind of didn't want to because of other people's opinions. I have not currently removed it. I started to, and I just kind of gave up. It's a tedious work to mess with a lot of these systems because they're not made for what I'm trying to make them do. So I did scrap that. If for any reason I came back to it, I would make a lot of those enemies. What I would do is I'd make them force you into a hit land, which is the animation after a bounce or a ragdoll. So you just get smashed straight into the ground and flat, belly flop onto the ground instead of bouncing. You'd still have some iframes from the hit land, but you wouldn't be bounced up into the air and kind of look like a ragdoll. But I have not done that part, but at least this part I did do. I think I talked about this before. Weapon buff strength has been reduced. Duration has been increased. So in the vanilla release version, these were 8 seconds long. Really, really, really short. In the balance patch, they made them 15, an 87.5% increase or something in the patch notes. But then I've kind of pushed them to 20 seconds, and because I'm reducing their strength, I feel like this is a trade-off. I don't want them to be that strong. I am, again, trying to starve you. I'm trying to reduce some of the bonuses. So this is both weapon buffs from Rage or Focus, as well as Tar Cloths. Everything should act the same on these, except for things like fire damage. Due to the update up here, fire damage from the Fire Tar Cloth will now split its damage between 75 strike and 25% debuff. There's no hidden modifier on this, so this is actually a double nerf on Tar Cloths and stuff like that. But Dot had a multiplier on it for some reason. I'm not sure if that applied to all Fire Dot or just like the Tar Cloth and buff ones, but yeah, a lot of little things. Cold damage now reduces walk speed as well as it slows your stamina regeneration. So if you get hit by the little icicle, which I need to reduce the damage of, that's a note that I need to make. From strikes, if you use a cold weapon, it will always be 5 seconds. I may change this to not be a dot and just be the debuff. So you can debuff the enemies, but you're not losing that 10% damage to be delayed over 5 seconds because it's too small. It ticks really, really slow, and it just kind of looks bad and feels bad. So I may remove this dot aspect, but keep the debuff aspect on the dot. So if it's 0 damage, it's still debuffing you. If it's 10 damage, it's still debuffing you. So enemies will do this to you, like the Cryomancer and such. Poison damage is always 15 seconds. This actually kind of feels slow, but I haven't had any issues with it feeling slow because it does start ticking almost immediately. If you have like daggers and stuff, you can just pop it like on the 3rd hit, and then you're just starting to tick this. And the more you hit, the bigger the pool gets, and the bigger the pool gets, you're resetting the timer, but you're still also increasing the damage. I'm not sure if I covered this before, but we now actually do have iframes on the rapier. The Vanguard shield attack, it's like 1 attack. I should just do it this way. It's not the leap attack. It's just the gives, because I'm changing the plurality of the attack. It gives hyper block. I haven't tested this strongly, but it shouldn't change your facing direction because normal blocks do and normal hits do. Hyper block cannot parry. It does not cost stamina, and it always blocks 100%. And Vanguards themselves also always block 100%. So if I were to put hyper block on something else, it would be more valuable than a Vanguard. But yeah, this is just an iframe with a fancy name. That's all this is. It does block enemies, which means that it will push them. It will ding, things like that. Whereas this is a true iframe. Their weapon will just go right through you. This is actually working now. Drop attack code rewritten so that it only hits 2 times against tall enemies. This should work on all mages, depending on the weapon, as some of the weapons and some of the collision hitboxes and stuff will push you away from the mage. Hyper armor has been removed from great weapons. This was only added in the 2023 balance patch. I am reusing that code and have rewritten some of that code. This is now actually 15 poise. Drop attacks will now give 15 poise. I don't know if this is working in the way I want it to, but the idea is that if you're doing a drop attack, you shouldn't just be hit by a single arrow or a small tiny little projectile or something and get staggered in midair. I don't want your attack to be canceled. Unless you're like really, really getting hit, a big heavy hit obviously will break 15 poise. Ranged weapons have been reworked. A lot of damage numbers have been reworked. Bows, channeling rods, and throwing axes now use 2 ammo. All ranged weapons can now use the piercing mechanic. The nerf that was previously there has been removed. Base ammo has been increased. And daggers, bombs, and crossbows still use 1 ammo. Fire bombs and poison bombs are now... Looks like I'm going to have to cut my time short. So let me finish this thought, and I will continue this thought in a future video and splice it in here. Firebombs and poison bombs are now class 0 thrown items. They can be bought from the shop. They are not pickups. You will not find them from enemies or drops or whatnot. Weapon values have been reworked, so a lot of numbers. Throwing daggers do a lot less damage, but you now have 20 of them instead of 16. So it kind of offsets this nerf coming back. It's just all sorts of numbers. They feel okay. Everything follows the dot rules now. So like fire daggers, if you throw fire daggers, they will do 75% of their damage as strike and 25% as not strike as dot. So, see the element and damage rework above. Channeling rods, attack animation is now 20% faster. This was just kind of, they have this really, really long wind down, and they just didn't come out fast enough. And with them costing 2 ammo and stuff like that, I wanted to kind of clean them up and make them feel better. The game is fast. I want you to actually be able to use channeling rods. They also now travel at a maximum distance. So this is pretty much a screen. It's about a screen, more or less. These are kind of pixel numbers, but your character is like, centered on the screen. So if you use the look away, you can see this goes kind of the edge of the look away distance when you fire. So they do just kind of disappear. They don't land. They don't explode. They just disappear after 0.9 seconds. It is really far. And if you're not looking across the scene, it will not be seen that they're disappearing. So you won't notice a difference if you're not looking or relying on kind of overfire. Okay, so jumps, I probably have covered this, but jumps cost like 3 stamina and they stop your stamina regeneration. The stamina regeneration pause is actually probably a bigger deal than the actual stamina loss. But understand that stamina is a lot larger in maximum here. So you start with 67 normally in vanilla. That's been increased to 100, but everything's been cost upgraded to also include that. So it's kind of the same thing. It's been normalized. But yeah, a lot of things running, sprinting, let's see here. Let's see at all times. No, we don't need 2 ats in there. So sprinting is also reduced to 0. Sprinting just got a big update actually just this week, recently. And the stamina regeneration now respects the item ratios. So previously these would allow you to regenerate even when you were at like low percentage, which meant that they were actually doing the job of the Hydro Dagger. The Hydro Dagger is now always on, no matter what. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, it is always on. It is 10% at all times, and then the stamina buff is also 10%. Both of these are the same as the original game. They just work in all situations instead of just most situations. Jump dropping through multiple platforms should not break your ankles, but still does. I haven't figured out how to stop that yet. It's just a situation of it thinks that you're higher in the world because you're moving through the platform so quickly that it's not actually setting your location as grounded. And so it thinks you've been grounded like way up above you. And so if you go 3 platforms down, you'll break your ankles. Not a very common bug, but it does happen to me a lot when I'm moving quickly through levels. Not listed here, but I should type it in eventually. Sprinting now is reworked as of this week, as of like yesterday. You can now increase your speed while sprinting by just sprinting longer. By default, sprinting gives you a 1.5 times multiplier on your movement speed. That is after weight and items and everything else. That might adjust your movement speed. In the mod, you can get a bonus movement speed that is based on your base movement speed. So your base movement speed in the mod is 500. So if you have an artifact that gives you 10% or 20% movement speed, then you're going to get 50 or 100 movement speed. So when you're sprinting, that is then multiplied by 1.5. And now I have added an acceleration. It's a linear acceleration from 1.5 to 3.0 over the course of 2 seconds. I might change this to like 1.5 seconds, just to shrink down the amount of time that you need to gain speed. Right now, it's a little bit more than a screen. It's like a screen and a quarter, maybe a screen and a half, to run across the room. The jump attack or the dash attack, however you want to call it, has also been updated. So there is a small multiplier of 0.833, which means, about 16%, 17% damage reduction as a multiplier. So things that did 1.3 times damage on a jump attack, not a jump attack, but a dash attack, 1.3 is now 1.25. It's just the multiplier is just on the bonus, not the whole thing. And then this doubles at max movement speed, at max sprint. So when you're at 300% movement speed, or three times movement speed from the sprinting, then this becomes 1.5 damage, 1.5 times damage. So I wanted some aspect of, I didn't want to gut them. I might still reduce them further. So I might make them like 1.2 and then they become 1.5 at max, and then I might change the max speed or the timer from 2 seconds to 1.5. So those are probably going to happen if I get around to it. Those are probably the numbers I'm going to use. So it'd be a little bit more than doubling the damage from nothing to something, and it'd be faster build up. But the idea is that you can run a lot faster. You do not get free stamina when out of combat. You do not get stamina regen when out of combat. That's all been removed and stripped away. Stamina usage, as your speed increases, your stamina usage also increases at a linear fashion, so it's the same. At max speed, you're doing double speed, and you're doing double stamina usage. I think it feels okay, and especially if you do a jump attack at the end, you're going to do some pretty serious damage. I do potentially want to mess with the poise damage of that jump attack as well. Make sure that the jump attack is also staggering. But the thing is it's a ragdoll hit. It's what's called a big hit. So it already flings enemies, which means that it already ignores their poise. Yes, ragdolls ignore poise in both games. Poise on ragdolls is, however, increased in both games. So if you were to parry it in vanilla or block it in vanilla, you'd lose some stamina from doing so. This just got done before I made this video. Pyro's dagger is now an explosion. This should allow a very slow but functional way to beat every boss in the game. The two bosses I'm concerned about potentially not being able to beat are, this is with parry and riposte in total. I would like to do this run eventually, but hopefully somebody else will do the run in my behalf and promote the mod, maybe. Backlogs. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But the true herbalist, as well as the 4 divines, are going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to beat with parries only, because of multiple enemies, and not potentially having a melee attack. It's been a long time since I fought the true herbalist, but I'm just not sure if you can kill her buddy inside the basket that heals her. And so every time he pops up, he heals her. She gets super aggro, but I don't know that you can kill her while he's around, and you're intended to just smack him, which is fine, but you can't do that if you're doing a parry riposte only run. So this is now an explosion. It does 10 damage. I don't know if it'll scale on other damage bonuses, because I don't know what other damage bonuses it should scale on right now. I might make it scale on level slightly up to a point, but I don't want it to do a lot of damage. I want you to rely on some other stuff like physical thorns on stuff like this. Damage blocking and tearing rebalance. So I redid all the blocks and stuff. Weapons have different sizes and shapes and stuff. So these are still kind of in flux. Some of these are probably wrong. I need to double check because I was changing some stuff past couple of nights on these as I was testing weapons. So great hammers, this is actually wrong. They're now at 120. This is a plus bonus, so it's 2.2 size in length, and then 1.9 size in width. Vanguards went from 25, I think, to 20. I need to double check that, and I think their reach might have stayed the same. So their reach, a lot of their reach is actually really, really short. So giving it putting a percentage on here, it looks really big. A lot of times it's actually not that big. So like twin daggers get 30% reach, but 25% size. Glaives and twin daggers, I did have to fix the wide glaive. Hopefully that's fixed. But the glaives and the twin daggers and the scissor swords are actually wider blades now, so they look thicker. I think they look kind of cooler. They're different. They give me a Monster Hunter-esque feeling maybe on the twin daggers for how wide they are. They're just bigger, So almost everything is perfectly bigger. Obviously fists are not bigger because that's weird. Maybe if like you don't have a weapon in your hand, your fist gets bigger. Maybe that'd be funny. But they do have a little bit of increased reach. Staff was 25%, but looked kind of funny, so I shrank it. I can't make the staff bigger without making the sword bigger. I don't have the tools for that. I would need the internal tools for Salt and Sacrifice. But like the half spear, this was upwards of 90%. It's been pulled down to 75%. The katana, where are you at? High blade. It was at like 50% for some reason, and it's been pulled down quite a bit to like 30% and 25%, something like that. Everything has the same block ratio and stamina reduction ratio now across the tiers and classes and stuff. So all vanguards are the same. All great hammers are the same. Throwing daggers are slightly bigger. I might do the same thing for throwing bombs. But otherwise, this is the new standardizations that go there. Wow, we've actually covered a lot of stuff here. My last big thing is the charm rework. It is not done. But we've got some big things. So like, it's not mentioned here, but since firebombs are now a throwable item, class 0, things like that, they do now scale with things like the leather amulet range damage. But it also means that their damage and potentially their size have both been cut significantly. So previously they did 50 damage over time, and now they do something like 10 damage per hit and do area of effect damage. Not mentioned here. I need to write it in. All of the bombs now have AoE. Completely rewrote some sections of the missile system. All bombs, all throwable bombs, not your alchemy bombs, not your other stuff, because those use a different system. The base game uses individual multiple particles. So you have a situation of the original firebomb was actually 24 different little missiles, and they were spinning and moving back, moving out from the center at the same time as they were spinning. And that's what they were doing, which meant that they have a huge like internal iframe timer, making it so that you can't get hit by multiples, but I want you to be able to hit enemies with multiples because I have the new pierce mechanic, which makes multiples on bombs really kind of cool, because you pierce the first enemy, it explodes, it lands on the ground behind them or pierces another enemy, it explodes again, and which means you can get double damage if you aim right and you have piercing, which isn't going to be a guaranteed thing. Pierce goes to, I think, 110. It doesn't actually go to 110, it maxes out at 100%, but I think the artifact value, if you get like a level 40 artifact and it's common, it can hit like 100% really early on. So you could probably get around 70%, 65% on a legendary. So you're not guaranteed the double damage, but if you used a lower level artifact, you could guarantee the piercing and therefore guarantee the bonus damage. So probably a rare with 2 modifiers where you had like range damage and piercing would be pretty good, but then you wouldn't have free ammo. So it's what it is. It's what it is. But now you can double their damage or triple their damage based on that. So that doesn't really have a lot to do with the charms. I'm just talking about something that's not written here. But yeah, bombs have all been reworked so that they all have an area of effect, AoE damage. It is a circle. It is just a raw radius circle collision type check thing that I built in there. So it does not relate to the particles and the art and the visuals that's actually happening on the screen. It is just purely invisible hitbox. And I need to do some testing with that because I think I did increase the size of some of the bombs and like how they emit their particles and stuff. But I think in testing, they're probably too small. They're like a 100 radius or 75 radius. And the original firebomb is probably closer to 250. But it's random. It's random little projectiles everywhere. And so sometimes it would miss nearby enemies. The actual collision of the object would hit, but then there's an iframe, so it doesn't. But yeah, they probably need to be increased in size so that they actually can hit things. And then the new pyro dagger down here needs to be changed. It's mentioned up above. This is now a 10 damage explosion on parry. Let's do it in all caps. And I believe this is like 20% or 15% roll speed. I'd have to double check. I've changed it quite a bit. But yeah, a lot of range changes. If we go back up here, range damage changes. A lot of stuff have been changed up here. And I need to note a lot of that here because it's just not there yet because I just did it. Need to update that. So anyways, I think piercing effects on daggers and arrows is really cool too. Something else to note up here, I don't think I noted up here. The jump mechanics of ranged weapons, when you use a ranged weapon and release it, it would cause this little hop in midair. That's been removed in almost all cases, except for the first frame of the animation, in which it has been reduced significantly. So some were using multiple hops, like 50 here, 100 here, 50 here, 150 there. Some were using just like 1 or 2 hops, where it's like 300 and then 150. Now it's just 50. It's on the first frame and it's just 50. This, talking to another user, call out to that user, you know who you are, that wanted to interrupt the jump attack. And by having removed the set jump script command on the keyframe, it made it so that the interrupt didn't happen and you couldn't cancel your jump early. I'm not a huge fan of animation canceling, but I understand that this is part of vanilla and it is a pretty strong effect. So what you do is basically you jump and then immediately fire. This causes the script to play out, which then cancels the jump to some degree because it's playing its own custom jump midair and then causes you to fall sooner. So the set jump on all effects has been reduced from various numbers of like 150 and 300 to just 50. So you won't see a huge pop-up. You might see a little bit of pop-up. It might not be very visible, but it does allow you to still cancel, hopefully, correctly, as previously you could. There's probably a lot of things I'm missing here. Little things, really, but been testing for bugs, and I've had a couple other people testing for the mod to be clean and whatnot. So hopefully I can get this out relatively soon. If you made it this far, of course, please like and subscribe, comment, or come to the Discord and comment there. And otherwise, have a great day. Hope you enjoyed this video.